It's based on a set of mutations. That a mutation will occur, and this mutation will be passed on down, and another mutation occur. That these mutations take about 40 or 50 generations, or whatever, 1,000 years. But now some people have studied it and said that the mutations occur every third generation. If that be the case, then the original Eve only lived about 6,000 years ago. Now, Adam lived later than Eve in this story. Now, how did this happen? Have any of you, and I think all I've heard of a story where that every member of the human race was killed except for one man, and that man's sons and their wives. This story, folk, is not just written in the Bible. It's written by every ancient culture that existed, and it's also written in our DNA. Which explains why that the original, why that the Adam that we're all descended from, all men were descended from, would have lived after the Eve that would have come before. Because apparently Noah's wife was not the mother of the three wives of Noah's sons. If you follow the logic. It looks like I've gotten everybody's attention. Again, folks, if you don't believe, do the research. It's here. Now, something else that's here about the migratory patterns. All right, they just have to put Adam and Eve starting out in Africa. But Eve's descendants went right straight up from Africa, right into this region here of Mount Ararat, and from there her descendants go. What happened at Mount Ararat? Why would they show her descendants spreading all over the globe from Mount Ararat?
That's where Moses
It's where, that's where, somebody say it.
Moses
That's where, no, notice that's from, actually Mount Ararat is where Noah's Ark landed. The male DNA now spread from Sumer, Babylon. Now again, this is based on their studies of human migratory patterns. It's like, though, without them even meaning to, without them even intending to, without them even wanting to. I mean, again, these are as pro-evolutionary people as you can find. They're proving what they did not intend to prove. Now, if you start looking it up, I mean, look up mitochondrial DNA, they'll say that some of the evidence seems to show that mankind experienced some really horrific disasters at a couple of points in its past. Or another theory is that Eve's descendants were just better than the descendants of other humans, so her descendants killed off the descendants of all the other humans, which I find a little bit fetched or a little bit hard to believe. All right. Again, how did we get here? That issue is still up for hard debate. All right.
Is this on the test?
Some of it I think I will put. I have not made up the test yet. I have never put it down on a test before. I've always told my pupils I'm going to, but now if I ever ask a question that I have not given in class, I'll throw it out. Sometimes the question slips by me, oops, I didn't mention it. But when I know I've mentioned this in the class, I mean, hey, you don't have to believe it. Just be familiar with the logic. Be familiar with the logic. Now, something else about ancient man. The standard view is he was primitive. How many of you have heard that if we were to try to build the Great Pyramid of Egypt, we don't have the technology to move the stones, we couldn't build it? Now, at least 3 hands are going up. I don't know how true this is. But nevertheless, I had a moment after, do you have any hard evidence? I said, what about the Great Pyramid? How hard is the Great Pyramid? It's not just the pyramid, folk. There's all kinds of stone moving. The stones that make up Stonehenge were quarried apparently from Ireland. how could a stone that big be put on a wooden boat and transported to Ireland? Also in Cusco, South America, I believe in Peru, there's a cliff that rises from the ocean 1,300 feet. The stones at the top of the cliff, 13,000, so 13, the stones at the top of the cliff were quarried from the ocean. I mean, near the ocean, right there at the ocean side. You cannot rise from sea level to 13,000 feet unless it takes several days to do it. The human body will suffocate. You have to go there gradually. We have no way of raising the size of the stones that they've built, 13,000 feet, and setting them in place. And no two stones are alike, and yet they all fit like a piece of a puzzle. You probably heard what I'm talking about, Cusco, in South America. These people were not primitive. All right, what about the cavemen? I'm about to deal with that. The picture, I mean, your book shows a picture of cave paintings on page 5 of my book. The cave paintings have lasted for 2,000 or 3,000 years. Humankind have always had people living in caves. And folks, some of today's cavemen and women own iPads, have cell phones, have electricity pumped through their home. We have people in Atlanta who live under bridges, and some of our bridge people have little color TV sets, digital, high quality color TV. Why do you think you see a man living in a cave who has an iPad? He's living on the fringe of a more advanced society. All right, these high quality oils that these people use in their paintings show the people who painted them were living on the fringe of a highly advanced society who had better oils to use to do their painting with than we have. Whatever else you can say about these people were not primitive. They were advanced possibly beyond what we were. All right, I'm going to jump to chapter 2 for a second. The people of ancient India have writings called the Vedas. The Vedas describe aircraft. They actually give instructions how to fly it. The aircraft, not like ours, the aircraft were capable of flying in the air, diving under the ocean, staying under the ocean a while, and then coming back up. As far as I know, we don't have a plane that can do that. Some birds can. They can dive deep in the water and come up and fly away. Our aircraft today cannot do it. The Vedas also talk of conquering planets, space travel, settling on other worlds. You can decide for yourself what you believe. I'll be coming back to the Vedas later. All right. The Sumerians credited their achievements, a lot of them, to their gods. I'm about to give you something about the character of their gods. If you turn in your book, those of you have a book, turn to page 12. Now, in some of the older books, it was on page 11. There's a very famous poem. Now, folks, this poem was supposedly penned at the time it was happening. Here's what it says. It's about the city of Ur. Ur was a city in Mesopotamia. Ur is destroyed. Bitter is its lament. The country's blood now fills its holes like hot bronze pouring into a mold. Bodies dissolve like fat in the sun. Sounds awful. Our temple is destroyed. Our gods have abandoned us like migrating birds. Keep in mind, their gods had the ability to fly. When the going got tough and trouble came, their gods just took off and flew away from the temples, never to come back. Something about their character, their gods, I guess. Smoke rises on my city like a shroud. All right, smoke. Maybe like a mushroom cloud, shroud, whatever. Now, in a clay environment, what kind of a fire will burn that will burn so hot it will destroy a city and just melt bodies like wax? Volcano, not a bad not a bad guess. It would not be an ordinary fire.
Gas?
Gas, if they had gas then. Now they have a lot of oil in that part of the world. Gas could rise up. Excellent. Excellent observation. Oil, gas, they have a lot of oil in that part of the world. Maybe it could have been an oil, just all of a sudden rose up, caught fire.
Thermite?
What's that?
Thermite? Thermite?
Thermite.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it. Sulfur, perhaps, again, volcanoes might spew up sulfur.
Well, sulfur is part of thermite.
Okay, sulfur. Yes, all right. What do we know about the city of Ur from another source? Who knows anything at all about Ur? It's, by the way, Ur is still in its ruins to this day. And I talked to a man in one of my classes a couple years back who had been there while he was in the army, while we were fighting in Iraq. We were about to start again, but he went to Ur. Who lived in Ur? That you might have heard about.
Abram.
Hey?
Abram.
Abraham lived in Ur. In this story in the Bible, God told Abraham to get out of Ur. And shortly after he did, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by sulfur. Is this the same destruction? I don't know. There are persons who have said that they believe that what is being described here is a nuclear blast from a nuclear holocaust. It might be a volcano. It might be sulfur. It might be from gas, oil. Yes?
Could it be a giant solar flare,
Giant solar flare?
large enough to ignite the structures on Earth?
I'd have to think of that one a while. See, the thing about solar flares, I can't imagine them just simply pinpointing one little area. I mean, you're always talking about a laser beam that just solar flares would spread, by the time it got to Earth, they would be able to spread the whole globe.
It could, but if the magnetic shield on the Earth gave out in one area, then it would be polarized, except for that.
Possibility. About the Earth's magnetic shield, it has increased and decreased many times throughout history, and there have been times when it seems to have not existed. And when it doesn't exist, life on Earth is in deep trouble. The magnetic shield that we have around us protects us from solar flares.
An asteroid.
Asteroid, possible. Hey, I'll tell you that when I was a kid, I read a lot of space books. And they would say the chances of an asteroid hitting are small, but then we got better telescopes and we realized there was so much space debris floating around the sun near Earth orbit that we're going to be hit once every 100 years. Well, in 1908 we were hit. And in 2013 we were hit again, same country, Russia both times. There's so much junk floating around that we can expect to be hit again, at least every 100. But what we haven't discovered might show that we're due to be hit every 50 years or more. There's a lot of stuff there. It could have been, yes.
But is it